always forget it. Look, I try to do at least 24 hours in advance. Scott Bird scrapings like 2 years ago.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say you had a screw loose.
Well, I do have that. That's very good. You make me look at it in a much more
I
positive way.
just realized that my certificate.
Oh.
Don't mind me.
Main thing is your mic's on.
Hi, Darcy.
Hey, Kelly.
How are you?
Good. I felt kind of weird, like where the kids in the
Either
class
two.
that are
That's all right.
Sit down there. I'll tell you. There's a sign. Somebody's missing.
Are you
Michelle
doing all
Stokes.
right?
Oh, Michelle.
Do what?
Are you doing okay?
I'm doing okay.
Good.
I'm like amidst a deadline right now, so I'm like,
Everybody's kind of like that.
and it's got to be done tomorrow, and my boss is coming in town tomorrow, so we have to have it done. They went in this morning early, which means, and it's not done, so I'm gonna have to go in tomorrow early.
I think we're good.
Do you have time? I mean, are you down for like today, or do you have to go back and?
I can't do it anymore today.
Yeah.
After this, I'll be spent. I've been there since 7 this morning.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'll go back in tomorrow with a smile on my face.
Okay, good evening. All right, I want to call to order the Fishers Advisory Committee on Disability meeting Tuesday, December 6th. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on the live stream right now. I want to go ahead and ask for a motion to approve the previous meeting minutes on September 6th. Do you have a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none, okay. There's a motion for to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes passed. Tonight we have a speaker who is going to share a little bit about a program that she has helped run through the Exceptional Learners program. Jennifer Pope, she's the department head and teacher at Fishers High School. So Jennifer, if you'd like to come up and share a little bit more about this scholarship program that you are doing at Fishers High School. She wanted to share with our committee more about what they're doing there and how our committee might be able to help moving forward. Thank you for being here today.
Oh, thanks for having me. So in 2019, I came up with an idea to start a scholarship for graduating seniors at Fishers High School that we see in our Exceptional Learners Department. I think that was a really tough year at the high school for several of our students, and it was at that time that I realized that they were climbing their own Mount Everest, and it was very disheartening for many of them to witness all the students around them being able to earn scholarships and awards for GPAs and great accolades when really they too have given their very best. And so we created this scholarship. It's called Tiger Tough. We offered 2 scholarships, $500 each. The students went through the Hamilton Southeastern Foundation. They filled out the application. We gave them the option of either doing it online, or if it was easier for them, they could also create a video. And then we had a team of about, I want to say 8 to 10 staff members and administrators at Fishers High School that went through and reviewed all the applications to select 2. We were able to do that every year. COVID hit, so the funding quickly dried up. We would do things such as Autism Awareness Month. We would have teachers pay for blue ribbons to wear jeans for a full week, which, teachers will do anything for jeans for a full week. And that went into the fund. I also helped out at the craft fair, so I tried to think of things that would help us create and generate that funding, but since COVID, things have become very, very tough. So I am looking for ideas. I'm looking for opportunities to keep this at Fishers, but maybe even explore expanding it to both high schools so that there are opportunities within both buildings for our students.
Jennifer, what are ways that people can contribute? Like if I said I wanted to make a donation now, how do I go about doing that?
Everything has to go through the foundation. So they have a link on the foundation, and right now there's a notes section, and you just indicate Tiger Tough Scholarship, and then that's where the funding goes.
And I will, as somebody from the district, I'd like to commend Jennifer. I mean, she is our department chair at Fishers High School, and I work very closely with her with our 4 program rooms. And she doesn't come from a program background; she comes from a resource background. But she has truly empowered her team and done great things to make that team be successful. And it all comes from her. So the fact that she's come up with this idea and she's willing to do so much on her own personal time is of no surprise to me. She does have children and a life outside of it, but I truly believe in it. And even though it is Jennifer supporting it, and I think so highly of her, it's obviously very impactful for the students within the Exceptional Learners Department at Fishers High School.
I know I was the one who reached out to you, Jennifer, having had some notes from the past that this particular scholarship existed, and that I know of many people that would be very, very good recipients of the scholarship. I also, when I was emailing back and forth to you, talked about, does it make sense that, and I don't know if this committee can even make any decisions on that, it might be the school board. Does it make sense for both schools and the entire exceptional learner departments across HSE to have scholarships and perhaps grow this farther than FHS right now? I don't know if there's any input. Obviously, Chrissy, that might fall under your purview, and if so, what are we as the committee here on disability in the city able to do to help promote something like that? One of the things I mentioned to Jennifer was perhaps using some time or some event or some way during the month of March to say, hey, let's support our Exceptional Learners Department and put the word out there about this scholarship and try to gain funds. We've done a few things in the past during the month of March, for instance, the sports showcase, whereas the entrance to the showcase, there was a admission charged, and that was split among various different organizations related to all of the things that are disability in the community. So that's kind of where this bridged from, and I said you need to come and present, and I think there are lots of things that are possible. I don't know our scope here as the Fishers Advisory Committee on Disability. I know that 100% I'm behind this in helping these kids, because it's absolutely true. I've had 3 kids go through the system who did not make 4.0 grades. And boy, just to make it through their Mount Everest, as you said, I love how you stated that, is something that really should be rewarded, could be rewarded, and even $500 to go toward books or a course or something post-graduation would say volumes to children like this.
Being able to attend the scholarship that they have in May, the banquet, which I've been honored to attend to give this scholarship out. But it's just so amazing to see all these young people that have truly found their niche. They've become very passionate about what it is that they want to do, and there are scholarships for so many of those individuals. Unfortunately, most of them are GPA-based, honors courses based, or they're based on your participation in clubs and activities that require countless hours. And at home, they have to make that decision. Do I spend the time to be in a club and in a sport, or do I spend that time to try and keep up academically and to make sure that I'm studying and doing the work that I need to do to be successful that way? And most of them choose that route. So it's just an idea. I would love to be able to see it go to both high schools. I think that would be phenomenal. Obviously, I would be very sad to let go of the Tiger Tough, but that's okay. We come up with a different name, but I'm open to ideas, suggestions, because I'm kind of tapped out of mine.
I have a really quick question.
Uh-huh.
You talked about they would submit applications, and then teachers would review those applications to choose the 2 award winners. What are the criteria, would be my first question, for, kind of assessing that? And 2, are they specifically expected to spend the scholarship money on certain things, or is it for whatever they want to use it for?
The scholarship money is for whatever it is that they need to use it for. It could be for textbooks, it could be for those kinds of things. It also could be for extra tutorial service at the college level, if they need that extra support. There's a questionnaire that is given through the foundation, and then on our committee, we had teachers, counselors, as well as administrators to try and get a mix, so that people like me might not be so biased if I see the name, because I've had them for 4 years. And then the questions stem from their involvement in school, to the impact that their disability has had, to what suggestions, what recommendations would they give to future students coming up through high school, because our students are the best resources for what it is that they need at the high school level.
I don't know what the next step is. Do we have, as a committee here, any ability to help in some way, whether that be turn this over to the March Disability Awareness Committee for possibilities of raising funds during the month of March? Do we help Jennifer in putting together a presentation and supporting her presentation to the school board? What makes sense as a next step in this?
I think I will follow up with the schools and see what goes on for district scholarship versus, my understanding, and I'm totally saying this off the cuff, so anybody who's listening to the stream, it's not just slam. But that some of our schools have different scholarships based on maybe a counselor that has passed away, or a teacher that's passed away, or whatever. So I will follow up with both schools to figure out what that looks like. And we could still have a Tiger Tough, and maybe it's a Royal
Rumble.
Royal Rumble. Can't be Rumble in the Jungle, anything
That's
like
right,
that.
that's right.
But something like that. So I will follow up with the schools to figure out how that is and report that back to the council.
That would be great. And the other question, have you talked to the foundation?
Yes,
And
they
what
are
did
the
they-
ones that helped us set all of this up. And they've been just amazing to work with and very helpful. It's just the funding aspect. I have been teaching for a few years, and I am a little close to retirement, and I don't want this to disappear when I move away. I would like to see this there for future students. So if there's a way to create it so that it's sustainable, and again, it doesn't just have to be at Fishers High School, it could do both buildings together.
I have a question. How much have you traditionally given away per year?
$1,000.
Did I miss that? I'm sorry if I
Nope,
did.
it's $500 each. We had 2 years that I was only able to give one away. I have learned a lot in the application process. Our students in Hamilton Southeastern Schools all feel that they are exceptional students. So when I use the term exceptional learner, I need to be a little more specific, and so we included the terminology of IEP as well, because there were a couple of years where we had quite a few applicants that were not in our program. But no, I don't know if that answered your question, or
It did. So if I could wave my wand
yes.
and say, okay, well, we have figured out a way to fund $1,000 every year for the next 50 years, that would make you happy.
Oh, it'd be amazing,
Okay,
especially if it went to both schools. I mean,
I
ideally,
mean,
would
don't
like
get
to see it
greedy.
spread.
I'm just.
Well, I know.
Her
I
kids,
mean-
her kids go to Fishers.
Tiger Tough.
So it'd be 2,000,
Tiger
I
Tough
guess,
is
yeah.
first.
2,000.
So you're saying $2,000 a year if we wanted to give 2 at each school. In terms of, partnerships and collaborating and trying to figure out a way perhaps to raise money for that particular fund within the foundation, it's helpful to know how much you're shooting for.
Now, I could go more, but ideally, it would be great to at least give out 2.
So I just have a question. So how does the foundation, how are they able to give other scholarships? Like, how do they get the funding for the others? Do they, through their organization then?
That is a great question that I can't answer. I know that they have quite a few scholarships that are run through them because they do a lot of fundraising. They kind of are the spearhead of collecting all the funds that we collect and keeping everything accounted for, which has been very, very helpful.
I know one thing they do is every year they have an annual drive where they ask parents who's really made a difference in your kid's life. I remember giving money one year because Mr. T was retiring. He was our bus driver forever. And so that money then goes to the foundation unless the donor restricts it for a certain use, it's going to go to the general foundation.
Right, and that's why when I reach out and request donations, I have to specify it does need to say Tiger Tough in the description, otherwise it does go straight to the general.
Is it possible maybe to put something on the disability the web page or whatever, just a short little blurb about what Jennifer's doing and even a link maybe to the foundation?
Seems reasonable, yeah.
I mean, that might get a little bit more traffic through it as well.
I think that's a first good step then, I guess. Chrissy, maybe getting together with the HSC administrators and just asking about the possibility of both schools and getting ideas of how we could move forward, whether it's helping to promote an event in March or so soliciting funds, donations through the community or businesses. We can continue this, but I'd also like to, work with the foundation to talk to them to see about, is this something they could help also assist more? Because it is a great endeavor and something that I think I didn't realize existed, and I think it's great.
Well, thank
So
you.
thank you.
And
Are
you
there
for
any
your
other
help.
questions or comments or from the committee?
I just have to say, this is the most wonderful woman. She's worked with my
Thank
kids,
you.
and one of them's 31 this next February. She
Oh,
probably
my
won't
gosh.
realize that, but she's had a great career and is a wonderful advocate all the way around.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Appreciate the information.
Thank you.
Okay, up next is we wanted to announce that we have a slide, I think, on that. We wanted to announce, a lot of people don't realize that South Point Village and Real America won the 2022 IHCDA Lieutenant Governor's Excellence in Affordability Housing Award in the Urban and Special Needs housing category. And that is a picture of Rhonda Wainwright Rhonda Shrewsbury, that is the owner of Real America. And I believe that Kelly was there. Were you there? Kelly, did you want to share a little bit about?
I wasn't there when the awards
okay.
were handed out, but I did get to participate in a really awesome panel with our friend Zach Curtis and his mom Zenobia, who's been really supportive here, as well as Matt Rayburn, who's the Deputy Director of Indiana Housing Authority, IHCDA, which is Indiana Housing and Community Development Authority, and these folks to talk to people from all across the state of Indiana about the process of affordable housing, the partnerships, the priority of finding ways to create accessible housing that is inclusive and integrated in our community. And that went so well during the statewide conference that we then were re-invited to come and do it on a national level, and we had like 500 people across the country dial into this webinar about affordable housing and how to help people with intellectual and developmental disabilities find better ways to live and age in their own community, and it was just really, really, really cool.
That's awesome. I wanted to just share with you what was sent out to the media regarding South Point Village and their award. It says, each year at the Indiana Housing Conference, we present the Lieutenant Governor's Excellence in Affordable Housing Awards. The Special Needs Development Award recognizes a development specifically designed for use by special needs populations, which includes persons with physical and developmental disabilities, persons with mental impairments, single-parent households, victims of domestic violence, abused children, persons with chemical addictions, and homeless persons. Congratulations to South Point Village Apartments and Fishers. South Point Village brings a first to Fishers in Indiana, providing beautiful, affordable homes in the heart of the Nickel Plate District while combining 4 service providers under one roof. On-site services for people with disabilities fill a huge gap for families in need. This accessible development provides services and amenities that include life skills training and education, raised and lowered garden beds, elevators, automated doors, lowered countertops, modified appliances, grab bars, benches and showers, mechanically operable blinds, transportation through Hamilton County Express, and community employment program through local service providers. So congratulations to South Point Village. And I just want to say that we keep receiving phone calls and emails from other communities asking how Fishers was able to do this, and I'm just proud to say that this is a first, and this is a really proud moment for our city to be able to have helped to get this project developed and to help people with disabilities be able to live in an accessible, affordable place to live. And I want to give a lot of credit and a kudos to Wilbur Sutton, because he worked with talking to a lot of people regarding affordable housing and accessible housing. So I just want to thank you, Wilbur, for all your help, and also the team, Ross and Megan, for all your efforts as well. So anyway, wanted to share that wonderful news, and so a lot of exciting things that have happened here in Fishers, and a lot of notice that we're getting from other communities. So next, we're going to go and talk about accessibility and transportation with Stacy Oldham.
Okay, got to put that mic on. Okay, so let me give a little background here. One thing I wanted to talk about before we do the accessibility and transportation would be the time capsule. I did last time give an update that this committee would be submitting something to the sesquicentennial time capsule, which is going to be done in 2023. I did find out there's a meeting in January of the committee that's going to be involved in that. If you need that link or want to be a part of that committee, that's Tom Britt, who's in charge of it. And so that will be January, I believe. No, I'm sorry, December 12th. So if anyone needs that, they can reach out to me. The other thing is, I've been asked, when will we be putting in the time capsule? It is going to be interred in the new building, the city building that has the arts parts of it too as well. I've been told April is our time frame for the deadline on the time capsule being prepared and put into the building as it's going up. So hopefully that answers questions. I've had a lot, and it's an exciting proposition, and we do have some contributions to be placed in there. So any questions on that? Okay. The other thing, okay, then transportation, getting an update on this, mainly regarding transportation for physically and intellectually disabled individuals. The Fishers Advisory Committee on Disability, we've been conducting research. That's sort of our role in all of this. And recently, it was Cecilia Coble and it was Ross and I participated in a video conference with people from different transportation authorities in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Why was this chosen? Well, this particular community has a similar population to Fishers, and its surrounding municipalities also look very similar to Hamilton County. So it was a good model to take a look at. They have a lot of good programs in place. So some of the things that we discussed during the meeting related to the sources they use for funding, whether that came locally, countywide, statewide, and federally. We found out about the types of things that are available for disabled transportation. We looked at their design for both a schedule. They have regular daily scheduled transportation, as well as we've found a great need in origin to destination is what they call it. So we call it door to door. They call it origin to destination transit. So that was a big picture of what they provide. They have voucher systems. They have other things available as well. So it was a nice picture of what could be in the future. What transportation look like for a city of our size, for a county, those kinds of things. They have an established transit authority, and they have an established mobility management office, and all of that exists in the mobility management office in funding out of their city. So it was very educational to learn what this looked like someplace that would be about the size of ours. So overall, we learned that there are dedicated municipal, state, and federal funds that they utilize for all transportation services across all municipalities. And so, again, it's similar in size to Hamilton County. Fishers, we found, should have a dedicated list of funds and a transportation authority associated with our city. That already should exist. We now understand that there was a voucher program, again, I said, so there's possibilities for funding and options if you were to, say, approach a private entity that would help subsidize somebody and make the costs for transportation lower. So those were interesting programs that we looked at. We also looked at transportation survey that they did in 2019, and so we have some questions they ask and ways that they ask them in order to gather data. What is our need and what are our voids? So that was a nice thing to look at. I think overall, when you look at another city that's already done things, why reinvent the wheel, right? So that was nice to be able to partner with Green Bay in looking at these things up front. So let's see. The Fishers Advisory Committee on Disability formulated a list of questions. These are the next step. And we forwarded these to the appropriate resources in the city of Fishers for further research on these answers to some of them. The key question is currently who holds the county, state, and federal transportation dollars that are already allocated to Fishers. And so that's something that Ross has taken the lead on in speaking to our partners here. I think I need to clarify, there have been a lot of questions. What exactly does this committee do as far as transportation and the disabled? So we understand that as a committee, the Fishers Advisory Committee can advocate for more transportation services to be provided, but we have no authority or responsibility in creating these solutions. In our role, what we'll try to do is to work to identify responsible partners, partnering with the city as well, to be present on these committees as advocates for the disability community in any transportation needs. So that's very important that I've been asked to coordinate, for instance, a meeting across the county. That in and of itself is not my role. We do defer to the city on all of this, so I want to make that clear. At present, we have heard from many people in need. I got another call again today. People need transportation. They need the door-to-door, as you might call it. I'm getting a lot of information from people who would like that. At this point in time, if there are resources available, we do have them linked on our website. The most common known is Hamilton County Transit through Janus Development. So I know there are others. If they're not listed out on the part of the website, the Fishers website, please reach out again to us and let us connect those services that are available, so that that's easy for others to access. So those are the things that I have to report out on transportation. Are there any questions?
Thanks, Stacy. I appreciate all your research. So right now, I think we are at, we've given Stacy the task to just try to research, what kinds of innovative programs are out there around the country. Where is the funding specifically that we could maybe tap into, and where are the gaps? So this is a very challenging topic, and we're going to continue to dig deep to just kind of get some more information. There's just a lot of information out there that we don't really know, like how all these moving parts work and everything. But I appreciate you, Stacy, with reaching out just to kind of find out what other things other cities are doing, and hopefully as we continue looking at this, we can explore other avenues, ideas, thoughts, and so thank you for
I forgot to
sharing.
mention that Wisconsin, very, very great people that we spoke with, a whole group, and they are on board whenever we are ready to take those first steps to guide us in their 20-year journey. They have a lot of experience and a lot of recommendations, and they want to be here for the city of Fishers. So it's going to be a good partnership if moving forward we need to utilize their expertise.
Any other questions, comments? No? Okay, thank you. We're now going to move on to housing. Wilbur, do you have any updates on housing?
Oh, a little bit. I wanted to mention that two members of the Planning Committee, 2 members of the Parks Department, and 2 members of the Fishers Advisory Committee on Disability went up to Fort Wayne on October 3rd and visited Turnstone. We keep hearing, every time we look at any opportunity, we keep hearing, you need to see Turnstone, you need to see Turnstone. So we went up there and took a look at Turnstone just to gather ideas that I think we can use not only in housing, but we can use in facilities that are in the planning and in the construction underway at this point in time. We were really impressed. It was pretty spectacular. They had workout facilities that would adapt to the aged, that would adapt to people that are limited on their disabilities or limited on their abilities, and people with full abilities. And those are things we want to try to bring to Fishers. Those would be opportunities that would work very well here for everybody. Doesn't have anything to do with housing, but it has everything to do with our committee and the opportunities within our committee. They did have housing up there. One of the things we discovered was most of the funding for everything that Turnstone had was, and Turnstone's about 45 years old, so it's not anything that's happened in an instant, but most of the funding has been raised from outside sources, not from the city. And I mention that because we're not trying to turn to the city and say, hey, we need to build houses. That's not where we're going. But we are looking for opportunities. In addition to that, we're still exploring land trust. We're exploring housing trust. We're exploring accessory dwelling units. We're exploring other opportunities that would bring housing to Fishers for those with more limited abilities. So that's pretty much it.
Thanks, Wilbur. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to employment. Chrissy and Michelle are going to give us an update on the reverse job fair that took place in October, kind of give us a recap of how that went.
So we actually hosted our first reverse job fair. We've planned it 3 years. Thank you, COVID. But we actually hosted it. It was at Grace Fisher's, and they were very gracious in all of their time and donations. We had 9 potential employees and 4 or 5 potential employers. We had more that signed up, but obviously we all know that life happens sometimes and people can't make it for whatever, but really great connections, smiles on everybody's face. I mean, all of the employers were there. Shelby was there and hopefully can attest that, oh my gosh, this is great. What can we do to help promote it next time? So I think we hadn't even left the event, and Michelle and I were already starting thinking, okay, next time we need to do this, this, and this. So it was great seeing the interaction. We had some people with fabulous displays beyond, I mean, it looked like they should be on Pinterest, some of these displays. And in fact, I think she said something to us about that she had researched it or something. She clearly put some time in there.
And she even mentioned that she would love in the future to help other people who are going to be part of this, help them like put their displays together and like talk them through that. So she has a lot of great and like administrative and craft skills and stuff, but she had a great display.
And in the initial planning in 20
Something.
whenever, year 1, we had initially planned something before that we would kind of give the future employees or potential employees, time to do whatever and them to be comfortable with an environment like this, right? So that kind of went by the wayside, I think, as we just wanted to make sure we just did everything we could to get everybody in. But we had Christina Blankenship from VR give a real quick 411 on what to know about interviewing somebody and some employment statistics and the benefits of hiring individuals with disabilities. So it seemed that she had some really good information on that. So I just, our take was if we can connect 1 or 2 people, then, that's it. I know that HSE Food Services was there, and she interviewed absolutely everybody. And she was like, okay, they just need to call me and fill it out. So it was nice to have that. But we had some great spotlight employers that came, a couple new ones that at least the district hasn't worked with before.
I'm just going to say it was an absolutely spectacular event. Connor Prairie, we talked with everyone who was there and already have 3 individuals who are scheduling for interviews with our various teams, ag, guest services, and our education team. So I was incredibly impressed on how the participants, those looking for positions, were so professionally prepared. It was phenomenal. So thank you for coordinating.
Absolutely.
They were. I was there. It was a great event. So thank you, Chrissy and Michelle, for all your work with that. Any other questions or comments on? And I'm assuming we're working on that again for this coming year in October to expand upon that and find another venue and location to have another reverse job fair in October and do more for employment, October National Disability Employment Month, so that'll be great.
Yeah, we also had an opportunity that somebody from Invest Hamilton County was there, and to look at continuing that partnership across the county as well.
That's great. Okay.
I have one more question for
sure.
those two. My God, I'm so sorry. That's so loud. Do we have a next meeting scheduled for the business networking group? Or is there hopes for getting that on a set schedule so that we can let people know?
That's one of the things we've been working on, and with the holidays, it's really been a bind, so.
Goals for 2023.
Yeah.
And I think, I know a lot of people said this, I feel like we're at a point where we can start to make regularly scheduled things and not feel like you're just waiting to cancel it or that type of thing. So I think.
Better knock on wood.
I know. But we had some decent participation virtually, but it's not the same.
It's
so.
always much more engaging when you can attend. I think we're kind of at that point now. How about Michelle and I get you a date by the end of the week?
That'd be awesome.
Great, thank you. Okay, moving on to community supports and services, update by Kelly Hartman.
Well, there's good news and bad news always in Hamilton County. The good news is at the state level, a lot of great things are trying to happen. And the bad news is in Hamilton County, it's really hard to find services. So we continue to deal with that. But currently what's happening, if you are at all in the world of service as being a service recipient or a service delivery, the state did upgrade their portal for providers and clients, which should, I emphasize should, it just got launched last week, be a much better tool for families to find potential providers. I know I get calls every day for Fishers and Carmel, people who really, really need supports, and we just don't have the staffing capacity in Hamilton County. So hopefully the BDDS Portal 2.0 will happen, or will help with that. It was launched last week. The state is amidst the data deciphering on a very, very large rate study. And what that means is all services in Medicaid, not just disability services, are basically being evaluated for whether or not they are at a fair price point to get services that people need. Obviously, we know they're not. But there's obviously also not an unlimited amount of cash laying around the state of Indiana to fund every program equitably across the board. So know that when you hear about a DDRS and Milliman partnership, well, FSSA, I'm sorry, that's Family and Social Services Administration for Indiana, which is the largest government branch. They are working with Milliman, which is a very, very highly regarded accounting firm. The rate study is, for all intents and purposes, on course to be able to advise the legislative session, which is the next thing on my agenda, to update you on this legislative session. If you want the 101, here it goes. Your legislators at a state level meet in January every year to start their legislative session. Every other year is called the short session, and in the off years is, I call it the long session, but what that means is it's the budget session. This year is a budget year, which means there will be a lot of effort in legislative efforts to build the budget for the next 2 years. Indiana, as a state, has what's called a biennial budget, meaning it covers 2 years, and the budget year starts July 1st, 2023. And whatever spending we decide in this legislative session is what you're dealing with for 2 years. And with as much challenge as we have in the economy right now, the most recent rate increase they had for services was great for about 5 minutes, and then the economy turned on its head, but we're stuck in that old budget year. So they've been trying to bridge the gap with some federal funding through grants. But again, if you've ever cared about going to the State House, calling your legislators, calling people, because you are really, really concerned about how few services we get for our folks in Hamilton County, especially Fishers, this would be the year that you gear up and call your legislator. I think we're going to talk some with some industry lobbyists as well, and I mean we, meaning Cecilia and I, to advocate for sort of organizing some more formal advocacy efforts around trying to reach out to our legislators. So stay tuned for that. I'm sure we will reach out and get lots of you involved. The next thing that's happening, which is positive, is the state, as part of the ARPA funds, did a call out for grants. One of the grant was an innovation pilot project grant. We actually, with Carmel Advisory Committee and One Zone and some providers, came together to put in for a grant. We did not win that. However, those grants that were awarded are looking at innovation and different service design and different ways of funding services over the course of a pilot. So right now, the people who were awarded that those development funds are putting together their more formal grant budget and proposal. And if those are funded, you will be able to implement over a period of time your innovative ideas, which should lead to what we're doing as what's called waiver redesign. And they're trying really hard to currently look at what do families really need and want for the service to be redesigned. So I am involved pretty deeply with that whole process. And if you've been sitting at home thinking about, man, I really wish I had this for my son, and I can't figure out how to get this for my son or daughter, this would be the time to tell someone, and I'd be happy to take those ideas at any time back to the table. Last thing, I represented us today at a focus group with a lady who runs an organization called Buttermilk Mountain. For those of you that don't know about Buttermilk Mountain, they make dog treats, but it's all really good ingredients for your dogs, but its purpose is to employ people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So all of the dog treats are made by folks with special needs, and they are really interested in having a more coordinated effort towards collaborating with local artists and people who make things to be really consciously involved in a network of farmers markets around central Indiana to really promote the abilities of people that we often find kind of get set off to the side. So the reason I bring that up is, one, it's just really cool, and I was happy to represent Fishers and kind of some of the things we're doing here with awareness. But just to let you guys know, there could not have been more positive accolades for the city of Fishers and our steps forward with inclusion and accessibility and awareness in our community. And everybody there was like, well, we love Fishers. Oh, we bring our kids to the Fishers parks. Oh, we come up for Fishers disability awareness. Just all of the things that are happening. I think those of us that are involved in it on a day-to-day basis don't think about how incredibly special it is and how it is really being recognized by those around us. So kudos to this group for making that happen.
I do have something for you, Kelly. My understanding and what I read this past week was that Luke Kinley, who's out of Noblesville and is in our state legislature, is the one who is advocating that there is advancement in the state level in the budget for Medicaid or insurance as a whole, but Medicaid, Medicare money comes from the state. So I think you mentioned, approach someone. I think that Luke Kinley needs to hear from all of us.
And Luke is no longer a legislator, but his new role is, do you know?
It was in the.
He did. He retired from.
Right. But he's involved with the.
Yeah, he's
Yes.
he's an advocate. Back in the day, and I'm not going to get too political here, but
Right.
there was more of a division between partisan politics and disability effort initiatives. And I would say that has changed a great deal. And I will tell you, from my own personal experience, one of the really big advocates for disability services and our workforce is Todd Houston, which we're really lucky to have him there advocating for us. So I think we have a lot of open ears. I think there's going to be a lot of people fighting for the same dollars in the state budget, and it's just going to be really, really important for us to advocate for what we want and need.
We have a strong advocate with our lieutenant governor as well.
Oh, yeah, Suzanne Crouch is amazing as our lieutenant governor. She is very much an advocate of inclusion, accessibility in our workforce as well.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kelly, for the update. Any more questions, comments? No? Okay. We'll move on to an update on recreation, arts, and culture. Shelby.
My update is basically about the arts event in the month of March next year. Logistically, we are pretty set. So when I say set, Conner Prairie has organized the rooms, the setting, the flow. We have done a call out for artwork, and that went out on the 23rd. So the deadline for that will be January 13th. The organizing team, which will now also include Ross and Samantha, and also included there is, of course, our exhibits director at Conner Prairie, members of the Arts Council, because it's a coordinated effort, collaboratively with their event that happens a little bit later on, I believe the next week. from the date of the arts event. So things are organized. January 13th, we hope to gather the team so that we can look at next steps. Artists need to be notified specifically by the 20th of January. Kelly Fisher, because of her area of expertise is the performing arts, is reaching to our community players in that area. We have a Lily Theater that we hope to use if the size is right. If not, we have some other options. So having done this for 4 or 5 years at this point, we've got kind of a nice system in place. I would say on January 13th, we'll talk a little bit more about the PR side of the actual event itself in coordination with the other events in March. So with that, if you have questions, let me know. But that's the update.
Thank you, Shelby. Any other questions, comments on the arts reception? I want to give a shout out to Connor Prairie on the Mary Prairie holiday events that you're doing right now. We were out there Sunday. Thrive Social Club was out there on Sunday night, and also HSC Bus Buddies, and it was just cool to see all these young people out there with their buddy and experiencing all the lights, the activities, and everything at Connor Prairie. Great job, and it just also cool to see all the things you've done as it relates to accessibility and just trying to engage and provide an experience for everybody. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we're going to go with Darcy. She's going to give us an update on networking and social opportunities.
Well, thank you, Cecilia. And speaking of best buddies, we are in the process of getting a comprehensive list of the best buddies clubs and sponsors and coordinators and high school leadership in the Hamilton Southeastern School District. And the reason we're doing that is so that we can send out or push out information to them individually. So we're just trying to get that list. Also, we are wanting to engage with them and encourage them to participate in March Disability Awareness Month. We talked about the arts reception at Connor Prairie and told them when it was going to take place. And then also maybe participate in the My Point of View Day, at least the high school leadership of Best Buddies, possibly doing that. We would like to meet with everybody, the Fishers Advisory Committee on Disability, to talk to the Best Buddies chapters from both HSC and Fishers High Schools to engage with them and see how we can promote their organization and see what they would like to do for the month of March, for the March Disability Awareness Month. So that is where we are at right now. And do you have any questions, anyone? Or
Thank you, Darcy. Thank you for all your work. You know, that's one thing we're trying to do is just get a comprehensive list of all these best buddy groups within our city, within our schools, other social groups, and just get a good contact information, get them plugged into the things that we're doing, talk about partnerships, talk about ways to work together. So we appreciate all your work, Darcy, on that.
one other thing, the Action Club of Fishers, which Action is a Fishers and Guys Kiwanis sponsor club for adults living with disabilities. They're taking a break right now from events, so that may be started back up here after the first of the year.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Action Club is doing a virtual event in December. They've
Okay.
had some illnesses and stuff, so
Okay.
they've decided to go to a virtual. They're going to do bingo and stuff.
Okay.
In December. That was just announced
Okay.
earlier
Yeah.
this week.
I checked their calendar.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah.
Good to know. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, now we're going to move on to staff communications, and we'll have the planning staff talk about the accessible housing guide draft.
Yes, thank you. And Jonah Butler with the Planning and Zoning Department, he is the one who worked on the accessible housing guide that was provided on the agenda, but unfortunately he was out sick today, so I will be covering for him. Let me just pull up here. So you all likely remember approving the Urban Partners planning study a few months back. And Urban Partners has completed a majority of that study, but I will say a bulk of the data is still being waited. We're still waiting on that information from the FSSA. So I apologize for the time it's taken. It's no one's fault. It's just the bureaucratic nature of requesting this data through the state. So we get a taste of our own medicine, I guess, here at the municipal level in making those public records requests. But they did provide the report thus far, and that was included in this guide. And so I'm just going to highlight some of the data points from that. So 7% of the Fishers population self-reports having a disability. That is taken from the U.S. Census. Approximately 1,500 Fishers residents have activity limitations significant enough to merit housing accommodations and or supportive services. So that's what Urban Partners estimated based on the analysis that they completed. The prevalence of poverty among population with a disability is about 3 to 4 times higher than a population without a disability. And then they did complete a supply analysis of the assisted living facilities countywide. And so there are 1,520 assisted living units. Most of those are geared towards seniors, and only 5 of the 15 facilities accepted Medicare or Medicaid. So most of them are just private pay facilities. We also found, and this was through the overall housing report, that our population is aging. And there is a higher percentage of disability rate for the senior population. The projections on the aging population, some are going to opt to age in place, and so improvements will need to be made to those homes. And there's also going to be a future housing demand for senior housing. So we know that that is going to be the case, that our population is aging. So after receiving this data, to encourage both senior and accessible housing for all ages, us as staff decided to put together this accessible housing guide to really bring together all of the resources that are currently available in our community. And so when we first started thinking about this, it was who is going to be the reader of this guide? Who is this guide for? And we determined that it was really for real estate developers who might be interested in building housing in our community, and then also for residents who either need assistance finding housing in our community or would like to retrofit their current home to be more accessible, or to provide services to make sure their living accommodations are built more for their lifestyle. And so I'm not going to go through this entire guide, but it is broken up into those different chapters. So the first being the real estate development community. So what this guide does is, let's see here, it will provide resources, and it's really the top resources, I'll say. There's so many resources out there, and I know there's a lot of organizations that try to compile everything that's out there, and we're not trying to be, I guess, comprehensive in nature. We're trying to identify the top resources, and this is really where we'd like your all's feedback, since you work in this world. Some of you, use these resources. Us as staff, we can do our research, and we certainly have tried to do the best of our ability to identify these resources throughout the guide, but it would be really helpful is if you all could take a look at this and let us know if there's something that we're missing, or hey, this is actually a better organization that provides more services to Fishers residents than what you have shown here. But again, that first chapter is the real estate development chapter. So it's really going over the Indiana Supportive Housing Institute. They offer a training program that's through the state. Low-income housing tax credits, that again is also through the state. And then there's an assisted living conversion program that we've highlighted here. And so there's links to all of these different resources within the guide. We also have a section on home improvements. So this would be for someone who wants to make physical improvements to their home to make it more accessible. And so there are resources out there offered through both the state and nonprofit organizations if you'd like funding to make home improvements. Let's see, these links are not working for me, I apologize. But then we have a chapter on the housing assistance. So if you needed assistance through the form of waivers for housing accommodations, not only to find housing, but I'm not sure why that's all showing as blank. But for Section 8 waivers, there's other financial assistance, federally backed loans if you wanted to take out a loan to make improvements to your house. And then we also provided a section available to residents, their caretakers, and their families, which included waivers for in-home care, medical supplies, transportation services, and any of the various nonprofits in our community that also offer those. So again, these are just supposed to be the top resources that are available. So I really would appreciate you guys all taking a look at this guide and providing us any comments. We'd like to have this is just the first draft of it. We'd like to have it by March Disability Awareness Month, published to the public. And by that time, we should have the data from the FSSA. That's fingers crossed. And then also any input from you all. So if you wouldn't mind spending some time on this over the next month and providing us any comments, we'll just make it the same deadline as the award deadline for March Disability Awareness Month, January 13th. If you could get us any feedback by then, either send it to myself, Ross, or Jonah Butler. His contact information is also in the guide.
I did follow up on your ARPA request, and in comparative timelines, I think you can expect it between 6 and 8 weeks after request.
Okay.
So that's before March, so you should celebrate.
Yeah, and we made the request months ago, so we hopefully should be getting it anytime now. And I know that I understand, so I'm not putting the blame on anyone there at the state.
We were also assigned a case number. Did you see that? Okay, so, and I haven't gotten a response back from the person I was working with over there too, that we have a case number to get the data from FSSA.
Awesome, and I really appreciate you guys both pushing and helping us, on the back end with that request.
I have something for you, Megan. When I looked at the overall housing study, and it's huge, and I looked at it with Wilbur, the one thing I noticed was the fact that there aren't enough housing places. The boomer population's all going to be 65 in 5 years from now. So when I think about things like South Point Village and other things that we need for the community that's going to be aging here, are there any things in process? Does South Point Village have another project ongoing? Do you know of anything that we're doing to get to that rush or influx of the people who will need these services, the 7% who need these places to live?
Yeah, so yes, we certainly are aware of that challenge, and as a city and as a planning and zoning department, we have a finite amount of land, right, left to, let's say, develop in its first generation of development. But then we also have these areas of the city that are being redeveloped at higher densities, and I think that'll really be the key to meeting that demand. Is this higher density development we are seeing in areas that are well supported by amenities, so that way people have access to those amenities as well. So it is something that our administration is looking at, and is certainly a strategy that we are still contemplating exactly, how we meet that demand long term.
I know when Real America did their 106th Street project, there was a phase 1 and a phase 2, and the phase 2, I don't think has started, but the phase 2 would reach out and touch a lot of those people that we're talking about.
Absolutely, and I don't have any updates from the developer on that phase 2 as of right now.
Megan, I also want to make sure that we include examples of other types of disability housing that's been being done around the state, like ILAD and Village of Marici. I want to make sure we're including those in the report to the Oasis is new. What's the other one? There's a few that I could send you a list just so that we can get kind of an idea of what other types of living situations are being built or being thought of around the state.
Yeah, that would be great. I would love to include that in the real estate development section to give real estate developers ideas of other projects that have been completed.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? All right, well, like I said, please email any, as you look through that document, email any comments to myself, Ross, or Jonah by January 13th. Thank you,
Great,
guys.
thank you, Megan. Okay, now we are going to vote on the meeting dates for the Fishers Advisory Committee on Disability 2023 calendar. So the dates that are being proposed for our next meetings next year is April 11th, June 13th, September 19th, and December 12th. Can I have a motion to approve those dates? Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Okay, second by Kelly.
I will make a note that the time for those meetings is proposed to be 5:30, and the location for those meetings is this auditorium here, which is Launch Fishers.
Yes, okay. Thank you. Okay, any questions or comments? I'm assuming that it all works for everybody's schedule, so what we want is to have a quorum, and we appreciate everybody putting that on the calendar, and those watching as well to put those in your calendar so that you know when our next meetings are. So all those in favor of approving the 2023 Fishers Advisory Committee on Disability meeting calendar, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much. Next, we just wanted to share a little bit about what the March Disability Awareness Month Committee has worked on so far. They have established a theme for 2023. It's called Building Our Future Together. And we have dates already planned, so we also want everybody to save those dates and get them on their calendar. We have the kickoff to March Disability Awareness Month, Wednesday, March 1st at Launch Fishers at 8:30. We have the art reception March 3rd at Conner Prairie at 6 p.m. And we have the Fishers Arts Council reception. It's their second Friday that they do every month. That will be March 10th at the Art Gallery at the Hamilton County Community Foundation at 6 p.m. And then My Point of View Day, Thursday, March 30th at Launch Fishers at 8:30 a.m. That event will be by invitation. So please mark that on your calendars, everyone that's part of the committee, so that you have that on your dates and are able to attend. Are there any questions on that? Okay. Next, I just wanted to share that, will you put that on the screen? Do we have the link on the screen, Megan? We have put out that we are asking for nominations for the Fishers Advisory Committee on Disability 2023 Inclusion and Accessibility Awards. The nomination process is now open for nominees for the Life Without Limits Award, Cornerstone Employer Award, and Accessibility Award. The deadline to nominate individuals or an organization is January 13th, 2023. And the March Disability Awareness Month Committee will meet on Tuesday, January 18th to select those final award winners. So that will be at 11 o'clock at the Chicago's Pizza for a working meeting. So if you can mark that on your calendars, January 17th, Tuesday at 11 o'clock. So I'm excited. We've had some amazing nominees and award winners, and I'm really excited to see who gets nominated this year. Moving on to announcements. Are there any announcements anyone wants to share of anything coming up? I would like to really quick, after we adjourn, to get a picture, if someone from, maybe Megan could take a picture of all of us here in our seats, so that we could have this picture as part of our history of this group and how we've evolved. We want to include a picture of our committee in action for part of the video that we're working on for next year, and for the capsule that we're working on. And any other comments or questions? If not, I'm going to go ahead and ask for a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
Okay, second?
Second.
Second by Michelle. Great. We are adjourned, and our next meeting is Tuesday, April 11th at 5:30 p.m. here at Launch Fishers. So thank you very much, everybody.